Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to side with the critics on this one. Woman in the Window was directed by Joe Wright and tells the story of an agoraphobic woman who witnesses the murder of her neighbor across the street. I remember seeing trailers for this movie in theaters before the pandemic happened, and I was really excited to see it, but 2020 happened and the movie got pushed back and eventually ended up on Netflix. So I was excited to finally be able to check this movie out. I thought it was gonna be really fun, I thought it was gonna be really trippy, a great suspense movie, and honestly, I'm disappointed. It was not horrible, but it also was not great. It did not live up to the hype. Not really hype from the public as a whole, more so my expectations, I guess, from the trailer. It looked a lot more interesting than it actually turned out to be. There's some great things about it, don't get me wrong, but overall, I would say this movie did not grab me, and I don't think I would be revisiting it anytime soon. It was just kind of bleh. So let's talk about it. Two things that I think elevated this movie were the performances and the visuals. Amy Adams and Gary Oldman especially did really great in their roles. Amy Adams really played up the fear of this character. She wants to do the right thing, but her fear of going outside sometimes overrides that. She also has problems with something that happened in her past that's really traumatized her. She's taking medication for it, but she's also drinking alcohol along with the medication, which she shouldn't be doing. And so that kind of makes you think, well, is she having hallucinations because of the medication or mixing with alcohol? Is she actually witnessing things that are actually happening? It's very trippy. And she's trying to convince everybody that, hey, this is happening. I'm not crazy. But again, people can't really tell because of all these other factors. I think Amy Adams did really great with that. Gary Oldman was really menacing as sort of an antagonist. You can tell he's very suspicious, but you can't figure out if he really is what we believe he is or if there's something more to the story, which there obviously is. But he was very menacing, and his performance was really one of the best parts of this movie. Visually, I thought this movie was interesting. They had a lot of cool, surreal imagery using visual effects, but they also had a really nice use of color and light. Because she doesn't want people to know she's in the house, she keeps it very dark, and so there's a lot of nice, contrasty, shadowy imagery, which I think really works. And then there's a lot of visual effects that they use to try and tell the story of what happened in her past that made her the way she is now. Alright, and now my biggest problem with this movie is the story. I think they try to make it very suspenseful and thrillery, but a lot of the jump scares and stuff didn't really get me. I saw them coming, and some of them were moments that didn't need to be suspenseful. Like there's a moment where she's trying to reach her phone under the bed, and there's no reason that should be suspenseful because she could just walk around the bed and pick up the phone from the other side. Like they try to make it seem like this very crazy situation, like, oh my gosh, I have to get my phone right now. But again, she could just walk around the other side of the bed, grab her phone, easy. But also, there were three twists, I would say, to this movie, and the biggest one I definitely saw coming very early on, but the other two were kind of surprising, like, okay, that's an interesting development. But the way they executed these other two twists, I don't think was as interesting because it was just the characters telling you what happened or telling you what's going on. So it's not as interesting because they just explain it. You don't get to see it. And there were definitely opportunities for them to show and not tell because they had so many cool visual effects and moments where they're really hinting at something happening in her past. I think they could have used that same approach to some of these other twists in the movie, but they just didn't. They're just like, all right, we'll just tell you. And then so the final twist happens, and I think even though I saw it coming, I feel like it just was very abrupt how it happened, the reveal part of it. First of all, I did kind of pick up on it earlier, but then also just the way it happened, it was so sudden. Like, one character was there talking to Amy Adams' character, and then the real person came in and just bam, we're in the final fight scene, I guess you could call it. It just caught me all off guard. Again, I saw the actual twist of the character coming, and also this movie is based off a book, which I didn't read, so I don't know if it was like this in the book, but in the movie, the person who's really behind everything just shows up and is all of a sudden super menacing. Like, that twist in their character didn't totally make sense. Again, I saw it coming, but the execution of it I think was kind of messy. Because of the way they set up this character, I didn't think, oh, okay, yeah, I could see why they would be doing this. It just kind of happened. And then the movie just ends, and I don't feel like this movie had a really satisfying conclusion, at least for me. Certain characters I don't think really got a lot to do. Like Brian Tyree Henry's character, for example, who is a detective. I don't think he really got much to do in this movie. Wyatt Russell is in here, and he does get some stuff to do. But again, his character is there to just explain things. So overall, I would say this movie was disappointing. It was not what I thought it would be. I don't know if the book is any better. You could let me know down in the comments. But I don't know if I could totally recommend this one. I do see there is a divide between critics and the audience on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm sure on other rating platforms. But I don't know if this is that great of a movie. It's a Netflix movie, and I think it is better that it went to Netflix and it's not in a theater because I probably would have been more disappointed seeing this in a theater. Check it out if you want to, but I don't think it's that great, but it's also not terrible. The verdict. I think The Woman in the Window is... I... So if you have seen Woman in the Window, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. Do you agree with the critics or do you agree with the audience? Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.